Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to make this intro quick because this is a 49-minute video. I'm going to try not to interrupt it as much as possible so you can get back to your Thanksgiving dinners and everything. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. If you're in America, if you're anywhere else in the world, happy Thursday. And with further ado, just hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Hit a like, give a like on the video if you enjoy, and his video's in the description below. Fat Electrician, America's OG Green Beret, Sam Houston, the Raven. Let's begin.
Now, granted, I have no authority to declare anything, but if you were to ask my opinion, this is the first Green Beret in American history. Today we're talking about Sam Houston, known to the Cherokee Nation as the Raven, also the big drunk, known to everybody else throughout different periods of his life as the first president of Texas, the last president of Texas, U.S. Senator, U.S. Congressman, Governor of Tennessee, Governor of Texas, Cherokee Nation delegate, and in my opinion, the very first Green Beret. And I know what you're thinking,
a lot of
Green
titles.
Berets weren't even officially founded until 1952, so how on earth is a guy that died in 1863, almost 100 years prior, the first Green Beret when Green Berets didn't even exist yet? Well, somebody had to do the job first before it became an official job, right? And I think that man is Sam Houston. So what is a Green Beret? What is their job? A Green Beret is an American Special Forces unit. Think of like Rambo. That's how the movies portray him. Just the ultimate badass running around with a machine gun. And that part today is true. But the real scope of the Green Beret's job, what they specialize in, is going into a foreign nation, training rebel fighters, stoking a rebellion, destabilizing an entire nation for the benefit of the United States. Which is to a T exactly what Sam Houston did to Texas, presumably under the direct authority of Andrew Jackson, the president at the time. And not only did he stir up a rebellion in Texas, he did such a good job that after the fact, they elected him as president. But we're going to get into all of that after a word from our sponsor.
Delete me.
Why do you have my trench sweeper?
The rabbits figured out how to use the trenches.
Oh, that's for rabbits.
Burrow, sweetheart. Rabbits live. You know what? Fuck it. It's fine. All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward. Sweetheart.
Figured out how to use it.
Oh, let's get back to the video.
Chapter 1,
Our
Sam.
story begins on March 2nd, 1793, when Samuel Houston is born in Rockbridge, Virginia. He is the fifth of 9 kids, and he grows up in a
big
plantation
family
house. Now, at this point in time, the Houston family has money. They are in the upper echelons of society. His grandfather, Robert Houston, was a
The Houston family, huh? Houston, Texas. I bet you there's no correlation there at all.
major in the Revolutionary War, so they are in that aristocratic officer class. They got a big house, big library, they got money, everything's great. And Sam Houston is the wild child of the family. He doesn't like working, he doesn't like going to school, he wants to go out in the woods and hunt and dick off the entire time. Now, I said he doesn't like going to school, which is true, but it gives off the vibe that he's kind of a dumbass, which nothing could be further from the truth. The guy is borderline a genius. He spends a ton of time reading from his family library, which is actually one of the biggest libraries in the area. By the time he's like 10 years old, he's reading the Iliad by Homer, and it's his favorite book, and he wants to go off and have a great adventure just like that. Now, around that same time, he starts to hit puberty, and by the time he's 12 years old, he is noticeably larger than all the other kids. He would eventually grow up to be somewhere between 6'2" and 6'4" in an era where the average height was 5'7". And at the age of 12, he wanted to know how tall he was. So naturally, he does what everyone does when they want to see how tall they are. He finds a door frame, he walks up to it, puts his back up to the door frame, and then, because this is, you know, America right after the Revolutionary War, he decides the best way of marking the doorway is with a gun. So he takes a flintlock pistol and puts it on his head.
That is the most American thing ever.
And fires into the door frame to measure how high he is. I'm gonna be honest, that has nothing to do with the rest of the story. I just thought it was fucking hilarious. Anyways, at the end of 13,
American
his
as
father
fuck.
passes away, and his mother Elizabeth decides she's gonna move away from Virginia. She's gonna take the kids all the way
I
out
love
to Tennessee, which at this point in time is the wild frontier. So at the age of 53 years old, Elizabeth Houston loads up her 9 kids in a covered wagon and makes the journey to Tennessee. During the journey, or shortly thereafter, his 2 oldest brothers wind up passing away. He is now the 3rd oldest in the family with 2 older brothers. So in a very short time period, at the age of 13, Sam Houston loses his father, his 2 older brothers. He goes from living in a massive plantation house with a huge library to what amounts to a cabin in the woods on the wild frontier in Tennessee, and he is now expected to help out so the whole family can survive, and he absolutely hates it. He doesn't want to work all day. He wants to go read books and dick off in the woods. not interested in this working stuff. And while living out in Tennessee on what amounts to the wild frontier, he has run-ins with Native Americans, and he absolutely loves their culture. He loves how they dress. He loves how they...
I was afraid we were going the other way and that he absolutely hated them. And that, you know, all of a sudden he created big issues between them. But okay.
He loves their outlook on life of just, we're going to go out in the woods. We're just going to live, survive, do what we want. So by the time he's 16 years old, he runs away from home to live with the Cherokee. After he's been gone for a couple of weeks, the family assumes that he's been kidnapped by the Native Americans. So his two older brothers go out there to rescue him. When they find him in a, you know, Cherokee territory, and he's sitting up against a tree reading the Iliad by a river. And his brothers are like, hey, we're here to rescue you. And he's like, I don't need to be rescued. From what? They leave, he stays with the Cherokee. After that, it becomes apparent to pretty much everybody that he's staying and he's not going anywhere. So the chief of the Cherokee, Ilioteca, also known as John Jolly, basically adopts him as his own son and gives him the Cherokee name Kaloa, which translates to the Raven.
That's where that comes from.
The next 3 years of his life living as a Cherokee.
I was curious
he knows how to shoot a bow and
with the
arrow,
title.
knows how to ride a horse, everything. Then in 1813, he's 19 years old. He's been living with the Cherokee for 3 years, and he hears about the War of 1812 that's going on.
Oh, fantastic.
Young man, grandfather fought off the British in the Revolutionary War. The British are back at war with America again. He interprets it as the Revolutionary War Part 2.0, so he wants to go off and fight for his country.
And it technically is, yeah.
The problem, he's 19.
War of 1812 was also against the British in the Canadian form.
And at this point in time, you have to either be 21 years old or have parental...
Fun fact, they burned down the White House during that time period. It's a great story. Great story. There's a hilarious song someone on YouTube made about them burning down the White House. But, even as an American, I still find the song hilarious.
Consent to join the American military. So he goes back home to his mom Elizabeth to get permission to join the military. Mom
and
does
she says no.
Give him permission, but she also says, and I quote, "My son, take this musket and never disgrace it. For remember, I had rather all my sons fill one honorable grave than one of them should turn his back to save his life. Go and remember too that while the door of my cottage is open to brave men, it is eternally shut against cowards."
Mom is a fucking badass with that quote, and you know it.
Come back with your shield. Or on it.
Now remember, Sam Houston's grandfather was a major. He comes from officer lineage. He could join the military in the officer class, but that's not his style, so he just...
No, he wants to be out there killing.
As a private. And by sheer chance, he gets attached to the 39th Infantry under the command of Andrew Jackson. He pretty much immediately starts climbing up through the ranks. I mean, he's a 6'2" giant in an era where everybody else is 5'7". He's also been living with...
Yeah, he looks like a leader.
For the past 3 years. He's an excellent soldier. Now, a little bit of context on the War of 1812. We're not going to get into the whole thing. Brief summary. It's basically about maritime rights. Essentially, the British are coming over, they're capturing American ships, and they're forcing all the American sailors to be conscripted into the British military. America uses this as an excuse to go to war, then they try to annex part of Canada. The entire thing just devolves into one big pissing match, basically America telling Great Britain, we're not going to let you bully us. And during the War of 1812, different American tribes picked sides. So like the British were backed up by the Creek Indians, and the Americans were backed up by the Cherokee. Because of this, in August of 1813, 1,000 Creek Indian warriors decided that they were going to attack an American fort, Fort Mims in Alabama, which they did, and they proceeded to slaughter 500 people. Now, obviously, this is a frontier and everybody was dead, so it takes a while for word to get back to Washington when it actually happened, but once they hear word, they send in Samuel Jackson, Andrew Jackson, and the 39th Infantry Division, accompanied by Samuel Houston, to go exact revenge. The whole Sam Houston, Andrew Jackson thing is going to mess me up this entire video.
Samuel L. Jackson, it'll get you drunk.
By the time the 39th Infantry tracks down the Creek Indians, it's
great.
March of 1814, and Sam Houston has risen to the rank of lieutenant all on his own. He has achieved officer class through his own merit, not nepotism. So the 39th Infantry tracks down the Creeks, and it is not going to be an easy battle. They are held up in a place called Horseshoe Bend, probably one of the best defensive positions geographically you could possibly have. It's this little like peninsula type thing with a river on 3 sides, and on the one way in, they have a massive barricade made. They're in a fortified fighting position. They have British muskets, British supplies. This is not like you see in the movies where it's just Native Americans playing little teepee on the prairie, dicking off, and the American military rolls in and slaughters everybody. No, these are like 1,000 hardened warriors that know how to conduct warfare. This is going to be a fight and a half. So under the command of Andrew Jackson, the 39th Infantry takes their time. They have to. They've got him cut off. This barricade's in the way. So he sends some men out and around to the other side of the river, kind of occupy that territory so they can't make an escape. He then has Cherokee working with him. He sends his Cherokee in under the cover of night to steal all the Creek's canoes so they can't make a getaway.
Just acquired them?
Yeah, we acquired them.
Once after Andrew Jackson ordered...
By the way, that's the Unsubscribed podcast, an episode there where I don't remember his name, but he had some wonderful war stories. I've watched a lot. I watch a lot of things. I'm terrible with names, but yeah, some of his war stories there were crazy, where he's just like, yeah, and then we did this thing, and you're like, what do you mean you did it? We did it.
They start hitting this barricade with artillery. It's not very effective. Eventually, he just has to order a full frontal assault into this fortified barricade. So they rush the barricade. The first guy over the barricade is Lineal Montgomery, the guy that Montgomery, Alabama is named after. He gets shot and killed immediately. The second guy over the barricade...
Why name your city after the guy who jumped over, ran in first, and died immediately? What? That doesn't make any sense. I need more context
Sam
there.
Houston. It is now 6'2", 225-pound giant Sam Houston with a fucking sword hopping over the wall, fighting Native American warriors, trying to give his men enough time to also scale the wall. During this fight, he ends up taking an arrow to the thigh, but keeps fighting till the rest of his men are able to scale over this wall.
Well, it's a good thing he didn't take it to the knee.
Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby.
So thanks to Sam Houston, they've broken through the first fortified position. The Creeks have fallen back to their secondary fortified position, and Sam Houston now takes the time to grab another lieutenant and is like, you, come here, yank this arrow out of my thigh. This lieutenant yanks on this arrow, doesn't budge. It's barbed. The Creek Indians use barbed arrows. Lieutenant yanks on it again, doesn't budge. Again, I can't stress this enough. You have to remember Sam Houston is basically a fucking giant, and everybody just watched this dude scale a barricade by himself with a sword and fight off Native Americans, and this poor lieutenant sitting there yanking on this arrow on his thigh. And on the third try, Sam Houston looks down at this guy with a sword still in his hand and says, and I quote, "Try again. If you fail this time, I will smite you to the earth." So presumably this poor lieutenant's shitting his pants. He just puts everything he has into it and yanks this arrow out, but because it's barbed, it slices Sam Houston's thigh open way more, and blood starts gushing out everywhere. So Sam Houston goes back to the aid station, has the field surgeon bandage him up. While he's in the aid station, Andrew Jackson happens to go in there to see the man, recognizes Sam Houston as the fucking giant that scaled the barricade.
I mean, you can't really miss him.
Congratulates him on like his valor and everything, and then tells him, you know, hey, you've done enough. Sit the rest of this battle out. Sam Houston doesn't listen. As the battle progresses throughout the day, he's still in the aid station, and finally he hears that, you know, the Creeks have fallen back to their final line of defense. He needs volunteers for people that are willing to go in there and break through. Without asking permission, Sam Houston grabs his musket and his saber, and he hobbles his ass out there and helps break through the final line of defense. During that fight, he's shot two times in the shoulder and the arm, and he's just laying there in this field in the mud, and eventually the surgeons make their way to him. They start operating on him right in the field. They get the first musket ball out of his arm, and the surgeon's just like, this dude's dead. I'm not going to be able to save him. I'm not going to waste my time torturing him even more trying to get this musket ball out when he's going to die anyways. They literally leave Sam Houston for dead. But Sam Houston doesn't die. After laying there for like a day, he's eventually just like, okay, I guess I'll go home. My mom said the door to her cottage is always open as long as I'm not a coward. Definitely not a coward. So he goes back home to mom. By the time he gets home, he's so jacked up, his mom doesn't even recognize him.
Slowly turn. Father.
For the next couple of weeks or months, mom nurses him back to health the best she can, but he's still got a musket ball lodged in his shoulder. She can't take care of that, so he has to go to Washington, D.C. to get surgery. The surgery there almost kills him, but he survives. Now, at this point,
figure, it's the 1800s.
He could just get out of the military, get discharged, wouldn't be an issue. But while he's in Washington, D.C., he sees that the British and the Canadians have burnt down the White House and the rest of the Capitol, and he's furious. He doesn't want to leave the military. Andrew Jackson, his former commander, finds out about this, and at this point in time, he's the Major General of the Tennessee Militia. So when he hears that Sam Houston not only survived, but wants to keep serving the country, he has him placed directly under his staff, and he moves to work underneath Andrew Jackson. From here, he basically becomes Andrew Jackson's political protege, and Andrew Jackson kind of becomes a father figure to Sam Houston. Because of that, Sam Houston eventually gets to the point that he wants to get more involved in politics, just like Andrew Jackson, so he resigns his officer commission, and Andrew Jackson arranges for him to go study under a judge to get his law degree. Usually that takes about 2 years. Sam Houston does it in 6 months, runs for public office, wins a small role, resigns, runs for a larger office, wins that, and then Andrew Jackson is running for U.S. Senate, so Sam Houston decides he's going to run for Congress. They run at the same time, they both win, and head off to Washington, D.C. together. While serving as a congressman, he has a meeting with Marquis de Lafayette. If you don't know, this is like the main guy from France that brought the French over to aid the Americans in the American Revolution. Like literally, without this one guy, America might have never won the Revolutionary War. Super important dude. And he tells the young Sam Houston, look, you can't let this experiment of democracy fail. All of Europe is looking at you guys right now, hoping that democracy fails, because if you guys prove right, if you prove this is possible, you're going to show the world that they don't need kings, they don't need monarchs, they don't need royalty,
rulers,
and that common men
like
can lead themselves.
Anyway.
They all want you to fail. You cannot let this fail. And the young Sam Houston takes that to heart, and it's going to be really important later on.
That's called foreshadowing.
Sam Houston then serves his term as a congressman and then heads back to Tennessee to run as governor and wins that as well. Sam Houston is now one of the most important people in the country. Everybody already knows Andrew Jackson is going to be president one day. Everybody's looking at Sam Houston like he's Andrew Jackson's protege. He's going to be president one day too. He's a young guy.
Probably,
he's
maybe,
tall, he's
potentially.
good-looking, he's a veteran. He's got everything going for him. So the next thing to do on the political checklist is to get a wife from some wealthy, noble, well-to-do family, which is exactly what he does. He goes out and marries this rich girl from Nashville, Tennessee, and their marriage only lasts for about 11 weeks before they wind up getting divorced. At the time, this is a humongous political scandal. This, up-and-coming politician, the governor of Tennessee, gets married and then gets divorced 11 weeks later. Like, this is a huge deal. It's got everything.
That ain't great.
Now, we don't know exactly why they got divorced, but the best guess that I was able to find was Sam Houston had accused her of cheating on him publicly, which was a huge no-no, and then that'll
definitely
cheat on him, which was an even bigger no-no. He disgraced and dishonored his wife and her family, which was a wealthy, powerful family in Tennessee. He is basically forced to resign in disgrace from the governor of Tennessee. This is an enormous taboo at the time. Like, that's it. He's done. He's nuked his entire political career.
Yeah, this was back in the time where you don't divorce.
He's like in the depths of depression, has no idea what's going on, and he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna move back into Indian territory. And at this point in time, the Cherokees that he had been living with had been relocated to Oklahoma, so he just sets off to Oklahoma. So that's it. He just disappears in disgrace. He boards a riverboat headed out towards Oklahoma. While he's on this riverboat, he's really considering throwing himself overboard, and he finally convinces himself that's what he's gonna do, and he's standing there at the guardrail of this riverboat, and he's about to just throw himself in the river and be done with it. And then all of a sudden he sees an eagle screech and fly overhead, and then the eagle flies west, and because he grew up with the Cherokee, he interprets this as an omen that he has a bigger purpose in life, and he's headed the right direction.
You can't kill yourself, sir. You need to keep going.
That guardrail, makes it all the way back to Oklahoma, and meets back up with his original foster father, John Jolly. From here, he's just out there living with the Cherokee, becomes a pretty brutal alcoholic. He's drunk 24/7. When he's not drunk, he opens up a trading post, starts running back and forth between Fort Gibson and the Cherokee Nation, delivering supplies. That's how he makes his money. He's drinking so much that the guy in charge of Fort Gibson accuses him of buying booze to sell to the Native Americans. And in reality, he's just drinking it all himself. And that's the point in time when the Cherokee go from referring to him as Raven to the Big Drunk. Despite that, he still did manage to do some good. He understood politics. He knew how politics worked at this point in time. And there was a bunch of like government contracts being given out to, companies that were supposed to go help the Native Americans do things. And a lot of these companies would just take the money and not actually render the service to the Native Americans. There was also illegal smuggling going on, all kinds of stuff. So Sam Houston went and rooted out a lot of that corruption. And this goes on for years. And then like 3-4 years later, the Cherokee Nation, for some reason, has to send a delegate to Washington, D.C. to represent them. And despite his alcoholism, he's still the best man for the job. He has political experience. He knows both cultures. He speaks both languages. So they elect him as their delegate and send him to Washington, D.C. And when Sam Houston shows up in Washington, D.C., he shows up dressed in a Cherokee outfit, speaking Cherokee.
Now, how about that? Now, that is a snazzy looking outfit. Even black and white looking, it still looks pretty damn snazzy. If I do say so, he looks comfortable.
Topper Harley?
Once, perhaps. Now I am called Tuca Chinchilla.
What does it mean?
Fluffy bunny feet.
And you understand, the people at the time, this is fucking crazy. This was like the hotshot political up-and-comer that just disappeared 3 or 4 years ago, and now he shows back up dressed like a Native American, speaking Native American tongue. It's wild. Imagine if, I don't know, J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom, like some young up-and-comer that people think is going to be president one day. Imagine he got a divorce from his wife and then just disappeared for years and then showed back up as a representative for a foreign nation dressed like them and speaking their language. It would be fucking crazy. Then
It would be.
with the fact that Andrew Jackson is president at the time. So not only was it some young political up-and-comer, but it was the protege of the now sitting president. So everybody's kind of looking at Andrew Jackson like, hey, have you seen your boy? Like what's going on here? Nobody knows if Andrew Jackson's mad, if he's going to disown him, give him the cold shoulder. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They finally run into each other at a party in Washington, D.C. Andrew Jackson walks right up to him, gives him a humongous hug, sending the message to everybody, this is still my homie.
This is my boy, and we ain't disagreeing. We still agree.
You son of a bitch.
So Sam Houston still has some pretty powerful allies in Washington, D.C., but unfortunately, he also still has a bunch of enemies because he pissed off a bunch of corrupt politicians by rooting out that corruption in Indian territory. So in the coming days, Ohio Congressman William Stanberry accuses Sam Houston.
Man, he looks like a current day Illinois congressman. I won't say which one, but somebody over there in the Illinois government. He looks a little bit like them, like that guy.
Of being the corrupt
one name any names.
Advantage of the Native Americans on the floor of Congress. At this, Sam Houston is absolutely furious. He then proceeds to go back, get all the documentation to prove everything, brings it to Congress, all the receipts, completely exonerates himself, proves his complete innocence, and then goes outside of Congress and waits for William Stanberry to come out, and then proceeds to beat the shit out of him with a hickory stick. And this now has the eyes of the entire nation. This is peak political drama. This Tennessee governor disappears for 3 years, comes back dressed as a Native American. Now he's beating the fuck out of congressmen with hickory sticks. Like, everybody's paying attention to what's happening. William Stanberry goes to the Speaker of the House and is like, we have to, punish this guy. We need to have a court hearing. He just assaulted a congressman, which obviously they do have to do that.
If you're wondering, a hickory stick is basically just like a cane, a walking stick.
So they set it up. Luckily for Sam Houston, he's still homies with the president, so the president hooks him up, buys him a nice fancy suit so he looks good for his hearing, gets him set up with somebody to organize his defense, a guy by the name of Francis Scott Key, like the guy that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key, yeah, that guy. And again, this is all over the newspapers. The entire country is watching this thing unfold, so when the day comes for the hearing, it's going to be a packed house. Like, it's going to be a sold-out venue. Everybody's going to be there watching to see what happens. And the day before the hearing, Sam Houston, who's still a violent alcoholic at the time, decides, you know what? I'm gonna get fucking shit-faced. Proceeds to go and get super drunk the day before arguably the biggest day in his life, like literally determining his freedom. And he goes out, he gets drunk, goes back home to his hotel, gets the guy working at the hotel, gives him a wad of cash and a pistol. And he's like, okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to bring me a cup of coffee in the morning. If the coffee works, use the money to hire me a barber, get me cleaned up, make sure I get to Congress on time. If the coffee doesn't work, just fucking shoot me in the head because it's all over. Next morning, apparently the coffee worked because Sam Houston shows up to Congress looking pretty good in his fancy new suit. Unfortunately,
to be that hotel guy, just getting received both these and you're like, are you a criminal? That would be my first thoughts. Bunch of cash, gun. You're drunk off your ass telling me, hey, I need to get to Congress in the morning. Give me a cup of coffee, and if that works, get me looking good. If that doesn't work, murder me. Huh?
His representative, Francis Scott Key, also decided that he liked drinking and went out and got Star-Spangled hammered the night before, and he's now too hungover to represent Sam Houston. So Sam Houston has to represent
himself well hungover.
Present your client's case. You're fired.
He goes up there, presumably hungover, delivers a speech that apparently is just awesome because the packed floor of Congress gives him a standing ovation. Everybody absolutely loves it. Despite that, he's still found guilty because regardless of how charismatic he is or what he said, he did still in fact beat the shit out of a congressman with a hickory stick, so he is found guilty. He shows up to sentencing the next day, and the Speaker of the House, he's standing there waiting to find out if he's going to prison for the rest of his life or not, and the Speaker of the House is just like annoyed, and he's like, I've been ordered by Congress to admonish you and deliver your sentencing. So, consider yourself admonished. You're free to go.
Oh yeah.
Like literally just the energy of dad getting called into the office, being informed that his son was fighting, and then he's like, what was he fighting about? Oh, he was getting picked on, and then he beat up his bully. Like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm taking your ass to fucking Disneyland. That was awesome. Let's go. That's
Oh, you got suspended? How long is he suspended for? He's off for a week. All right, son, it's time for a vacation. Let's go.
pretty much what just happened.
Yep. I love it.
Sam Houston has just re-entered the political spotlight in spectacular fashion. I mean, dude came out of nowhere, beat up a corrupt politician who wouldn't even do that, and then gets away with it scot-free.
Oh, there's a long list of politicians that if I could get away with it like Sam Houston, there's a list I would just start going down and beating the crap.
Like, he has just re-won the...
And don't worry, I wouldn't do it to any of the older ones. None of them are on my list. Anybody who's above like the age of 60, they're off the list. They're just on a, can I get this guy out of here with the least amount of fighting possible, because I don't want them to be hurt on their way out, being able to use it as a weapon to come back.
Heart of the entire nation. Everybody now loves this guy. So now Sam Houston is no longer just Andrew Jackson's homie that's a little bit weird wearing Native American clothing. He's loved by the entire nation. He's got some political capital behind him.
Which is
and
great.
Andrew Jackson presumably concocts a plan. Now, important context, Andrew Jackson really, really wants the Texas territory to be part of the United States of America. He thinks it's going to be the most important, most profitable, biggest, most powerful state in the entire union if he can get them to join the United States. By this point in time, there's already a ton of American and European settlers that are moving to Texas and buying land because it's so incredibly cheap there, because nobody lives there and it's so damn big. Andrew Jackson's been trying to buy the Texas territory from the Mexican government for a while now, but the government keeps changing so much that he can't get any traction on the negotiation. There's already some disputed territory between the two, and now he has a 6-foot-tall, 250-pound giant that's got military experience and an outrageous amount of charisma, and in the back of his head, presumably, he's like, I could send this guy in there to start a revolution and then take it over.
Whose car are we gonna take?
I want to be clear when I say this. I want to be 100% intellectually honest. We have no written evidence that Andrew Jackson sent Sam Houston into Texas to start a revolution. However, most of the Texas Revolution historians that specialize in this all agree, like, yeah, Sam Houston didn't just accidentally wake up one day in the political spotlight and be like, you know what would be a good idea? To move out into the desert of Texas for no fucking reason. Then when you combine that with the fact that Andrew Jackson then proceeds to make Sam Houston his emissary to the Comanche, Apache, and Cherokee Indians in the Texas territory, and then gave him a bunch of money and financial backing and sent him there, it just kind of makes sense. And this is why I would argue that Sam Houston is the first Green Beret. He is essentially, presumably, under presidential orders to go into a foreign nation, destabilize it, and acquire it for America. Now, to be fair, it's already pretty unstable. It's not densely populated. There's a ton of civil wars going on in Mexico all the time, and Texas is kind of like an out backwater for Mexico. Like, there's not a lot going on up there as far as Mexico is concerned. On top of that, it's mostly populated by European immigrants and Native American tribes from North America that have been relocated down there. I mean, at this point in time, the native Mexican Tecanos only make up about 1/8 of the population inside the territory of Texas. So Sam Houston heads down to Texas, crosses into Texas by himself on horseback in December 2nd, 1832, presumably under orders by the President of the United States to acquire the entire region. So Sam Houston rides into Texas and immediately starts establishing himself as a politician inside of Texas. First thing he has to do, he has to get baptized as Catholic, because you have to be a Catholic to own land in Mexico. Once he does that, he acquires like 4,000 acres of land, and then he opens up his law practice.
4,000 acres?
Wow.
Wow.
There's already a group of like local politician and wealthy business people that want to have a Texas revolution and separate from Mexico. This is called the War Party. And the War Party isn't just comprised of European and American immigrants. It's also comprised of native Tecanos too, and they want to be separated from Mexico as well, because Mexico right now is being ran by Santa Anna, who more or less is a pretty brutal dictator who views all of his constituents, especially those in Texas, as children that need his guidance, and they need to shut the fuck up and listen to him, and nobody likes it. So he's immediately getting involved in this government that's organizing a revolution, and one of the first big things that he does is he goes out to the Native American tribes and makes treaties with the new potential government and all these Native American tribes. He leverages his Native American background and basically ensures that the Native American tribes aren't going to back Mexico and fight him as well. So that happens. Then for like the next 3 years, he's bringing in more supplies, more guns, more gunpowder, more people, fuel, everything he's going to need to have a revolution and fight off Santa Anna and the Mexican army. By 1835, the new government's starting to get propped up, and every region of Texas has basically elected delegates that they send off to Washington, Texas to establish a new government. They're working on getting a constitution, a Declaration of Independence. They're working on getting the whole government thing figured and nailed out, but things boil over prematurely. This happens in October of 1835 in Gonzales, Texas, where the people of Gonzales were given a small cannon. I mean, it's like this cannon. It's absolutely tiny. And they were given by the Mexican government to repel attacks from Comanches, and Santa Anna, just basically wanting to be a dick and prove a point and let them know I'm in charge, notified them that he is sending his army up there to retake that cannon from the people of Gonzales. And it's just a complete dick move to send the message of like, hey, I'm in charge. The cannon isn't doing anything. It's literally buried in a peach orchard, and at some point or another, it's been spiked, meaning somebody took a nail and beat it into the fuse hole. It's literally a giant paperweight. But this is Texas.
Yeah, screw
these
the
are
cannon.
Texans, to which they say, that's our fucking paperweight. So they dig it out of the peach orchard, drill out the nail hole, get it refitted and ready for battle, and they're gonna fight to keep this cannon, just because that's how Texas gets down.
Hell yeah.
So the Mexican army shows up, tell the people of Gonzales, hey, give me the cannon. The Texans famously respond, come and take it.
Come and get them!
Yes, this is where the come and take it flag comes from, the Battle of Gonzales. The Texans
Hell
repel
yeah.
the Mexican army, giving Texas its first win in the Texas Revolution and kicking the entire thing off
Hey, there's a little baby cannon.
way sooner than anybody wanted to. So Texas is winning, that's great. However, it also kicked off a humongous shit show because there is no formed government yet. There's nobody in charge of the militia or the army. There is no army. There's just a couple of gangs of militias somewhere around Texas taking order from God knows who. They're not
So let me guess. Sam Houston, he's like, I'll lead.
appealing to any bigger strategy. They don't know how to
Right.
conduct warfare on like
Is
a
that
macro
what's about
level.
to happen?
It's just chaos. In the coming months, in the chaos, James Fannin and Jim Bowie decide to lead their militia, and they're going to take over San Antonio. Why would you take over San Antonio? Well, you really wouldn't. There's no strategic advantage at all to taking over San Antonio other than pissing off Santa Anna, but they decide they're going to take over San Antonio.
That's
anyways.
probably why
That's
they
exactly
did it.
what they do. They repel the Mexican army out of the area. They take over San Antonio. This is where the Alamo is. And yeah, they're held up in the Alamo and they're occupying that at this point in time, while Sam Houston is back in Washington, Texas, trying to organize this new government. Around the same point in time, the new government decides that Sam Houston should be the major general of the Texas Army. There is no Texas Army at this point in time. It's just the different militias. So he's going to have to go out and recruit the militias to take orders from him, which obviously hasn't happened yet. But he now has some authority. So he starts advising Fannin and Jim Bowie, hey, Santa Anna's going to come back, and he's going to come back with a big ass army, and he's going to fuck your shit up. You need to start preparing. They don't listen. So we've got like 250 guys plus Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett out there at the Alamo, and then James Fannin took 400 men out to a place called Goliad in the same area, and they're kind of just hanging out, not really getting ready, not getting prepared. Sure enough, February of 1836 rolls around and Santa Anna shows up with thousands of men at the Alamo. Santa Anna and his men then lay siege to the Alamo for 13 days straight. During this time period,
And they
word
lose
gets back
the
to the new
entire
government that
time.
the Alamo's under attack. A lot of the delegates and people there all want to ride out to back up the Alamo, at which point Sam Houston is like, no, we need to get this new government shit figured out. You guys stay here. I'll go handle it. Sam Houston takes
I'll go do it
Gonzales,
myself.
Texas, where there's 400 men waiting to serve underneath him. By the time he gets there, right around the same time, he gets word that the Alamo has fallen and everyone's been killed. All the men are ready. They want to go fight. They want to go get revenge. But Sam Houston has a plan. He orders everyone to retreat to the east away from the Alamo. He then sends an order to James Fannin in charge of the other 400 guys at Goliad, tells him to do the same thing. Retreat eastward. We'll regroup. We'll fight together. James Fannin doesn't listen. Gets surrounded and is forced to surrender. Once they've surrendered and are now prisoners of war, Santa Anna has all of them executed. So that's it. Sam Houston and his 400 guys are the only army left in Texas to be able to fight back against Santa Anna, and he is not interested in fighting him right now. He's headed the other direction, east. And nobody knows why. The men are getting pissed off. They want to turn around and go fight, but it's going to be a disaster because he has thousands of men versus 400. The new Texas government wants him to turn around and fight. He keeps denying the order. He's like, no, I'm keeping my own counsel. We're heading east. Just trust me. He's got some plan, but nobody knows what it is. And he's driving his men hard. They're covering like 25, 30 miles a day. They cross the Guadalupe River. Then they cross the Colorado River. And then the new Texas government sends out a delegate, David Beret, and he basically has the orders to tell Sam Houston, turn around and fight Santa Anna, or I'm going to take control of this army and I'm going to go do it. To which Sam Houston is like, just come here, let's go have a meeting in my tent and talk about some stuff. Burnett goes in the tent, they have a conversation, all the men are outside like, what the fuck are they talking about in there? Oh, Burnett's gonna be in charge, we're gonna go fight Santa Anna. Burnett and Sam Houston come back out. Burnett is now 100% on the same page as Sam Houston. They're gonna continue heading east. Everybody is like, what the fuck is going on?
What happened in there? I wonder what words were exchanged, what actions were done, or what sanity was shown, because seems in history to have worked
Men
out.
legitimately are concerned that Sam Houston has put Burnett under some type of Cherokee spell. In reality, Sam Houston has just revealed to Burnett his plan. You see, the United States of America and Mexico don't really agree on where Texas is. There's a disputed territory, a no man's land, so to speak, between the Natchez and the Sabine River. That area, America's claiming they own all the way up to the Natchez, and Mexico's claiming they own all the way up to the Sabine. So this area in the middle is disputed territory. And Sam Houston knows that Andrew Jackson has sent the American army under the command of General Gaines all the way up to the Sabine River, and the American army is sitting on the Sabine River waiting for Sam Houston to show up. And if he can bait Santa Anna past the Natchez River into that no man's land, the American army is going to have just enough leeway to be able to go in there and back him up without it being an act of war, because they get to argue, I didn't invade Mexico, that's our territory,
you invaded me.
Disputed land. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, this is an antique clandestine operation, and Sam Houston is the world's first Green Beret. Okay, that's exactly what's happening right now. The next day, Sam Houston gets 2 letters. One of them is from Santa Anna, where Santa Anna basically says, I'm coming to get your ass, as his army is chasing Sam Houston. His exact words were, I'm coming to smoke you out, which is a huge mistake, telling Sam Houston exactly what you're doing, especially when that's secretly what he wants you to do. The other letter is from General Gaines saying, the American army is right on the Sabine River. We're ready. Everything's going perfect.
Everything, down to the last minute details.
Then everything changes. Houston hears back from his scouts that Santa Anna has split his army. Santa Anna himself has taken a small contingency, like 900 men, and he is chasing down Sam Houston to eradicate the last army in Texas, and he's sent the rest of his military to head out to where the new government's at, and he's gonna capture them and shut down this entire rebellion right in one fell sweep. Now, that's a pretty good plan, but it also gives Sam Houston a chance to capture Santa Anna, and if he captures the dictator, he's captured their government, so he wins by default anyways. This is literally two kings on the chessboard duking it out. And he figures all this out when they're crossing a place near the San Jacinto River called Buffalo Bend, which is eerily similar, almost identical to Horseshoe Bend that he fought the battle in under Andrew Jackson, except now the roles are going to be reversed. He's going to have this supreme defensive position. It's surrounded by river on 3 sides, and the only way in is across a wooden bridge. Sam Houston brings his 400 men in there and positions them in a fashion that when Santa Anna goes to line up against him, his army is going to have an uncrossable marsh behind them, a river behind that, and the only way out is this wooden bridge. So he's got a plan. He's going to trap Santa Anna. The only problem now is it's 400 men with Sam Houston versus Santa Anna with 900. Not looking like great odds. Now, I can't prove that
only a little over 2 to 1.
And say that Sam Houston wrote a letter to General Gaines over on the Sabine River and is like, hey, we're not going to make it. Why do I think he wrote this letter? Well, because coincidentally, while he's in Buffalo Bend, like 500 American volunteers that all have recent military experience all show up carrying U.S. issued rifles and several cannons.
What are the odds of that?
Okay, I know what you're thinking. That's crazy. The American military can't go invading a foreign nation. That would be an act of war. You're absolutely correct. And I'm positive there's absolutely no way that General Gaines told his guys what was going on and then proceeded to look the other way while 500 dudes dressed out of their uniforms into civilian clothing and then marched their asses into Mexico to back up Sam Houston. I'm positive that didn't happen.
But that's what happened.
Regardless of what happened, Sam Houston now has 900 well-armed men and 2 cannons, and Santa Anna's coming after him with 900 men. But Sam Houston has the geographical advantage. He's got Santa Anna absolutely cornered. Sure enough, Santa Anna marches his army right into Buffalo Bend.
Right into the trap.
Right against Sam Houston. He has no idea that Sam Houston has been fortified by 500 American volunteers, so he sets up camp and he wants to give his men a chance to rest before he has to kick Sam Houston's ass and crush this rebellion. So that's exactly what they do. Well, that's
Well, at least he let them rust before they met their demise.
Going on, like 400 more reinforcements show up to back up Santa Anna. Now he's got like 1,350 men. They're setting up tents. They're taking naps. His cavalry takes all the saddles.
They're getting excited
to give the horses a break. And Sam Houston's looking at this like, okay, fucking Mr. Big Swinging Dick Dictator over here thinks I'm locked in here with him. No, he's locked in here with me. He then starts giving orders to his men. You guys, go destroy the fucking bridge. You guys, cut up a bunch of horseshoes and load them in the cannons. I've got an idea. His men then go destroy the bridge. They come back. They let him know the bridge has been destroyed. At this point, he forms up the men. He's got 2 companies on each side with 2 cannons right in the middle, and he's got his cavalry hiding in the woods, and they're going to do this big sweeping flanking maneuver when they decide to attack. He then delivers a speech to his men. I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically, listen here, the bridge is gone. I've metaphorically burned the boats. This is now a matter of victory or death. We are locked in this cage with these guys. We're gonna go fucking win. And he delivers his famous words, remember the Alamo, remember the Goliad, and they start marching towards the Mexican army. This is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The Mexicans thought that they were gonna handle this tomorrow morning. No, they're handling it right now. They're scrambling out of tents. The horses don't have saddles on them. The cavalry's gonna have to fight on foot. It's a giant shit show for the Mexican army. They hastily form up. Santa Anna's got 1 cannon with him. He orders the cannon to fire at Sam Houston's 2 cannons. It misses. Sam Houston orders a return fire. The horseshoes silence Santa Anna's cannon. The Texans hurry up and reload the cannons with horseshoes as Santa Anna sends an entire company of men straight towards the cannons trying to take them out. You're never gonna guess this. Those guys were allergic to horseshoes too. Fucking stuffed in the pocket.
Those guys were allergic to horseshoes too. I swear, he's got to put that one on a shirt. Those guys were allergic to horseshoes too.
At this point, Sam Houston rides out from behind the formation to the front of the formation and is leading his men from the front. As they're advancing, he gets shot through the foot. It kills his horse, throws him to the ground, hops back up with a hole through his foot, grabs another horse, and continues to lead his men into battle. Okay, the men are hyped. They just got delivered this badass speech. They're about to go get revenge for all their buddies that died at the Alamo and at Goliad, and now there's this 6'2" giant of a man that's apparently bulletproof leading them into battle. Let's fucking go. They march right up to the Mexican line, like 30, 40 yards away, fire 1 volley, and then turn their muskets around to use them as clubs because they didn't have bayonets, and they start whipping out bowie knives, and they just charge.
And that's why you like a bayonet.
Great Santa Anna's line. At this point, Sam Houston loses all control of the army. These guys are hyped. They want revenge. They go out there and they just start killing absolutely everybody. The Battle of San Jacinto in total lasted for about 18 minutes. And in that 18 minutes, the Texas army lost 11 men. Santa Anna, on the other hand, lost 650 men, had 200 wounded, and 300 were captured. But Santa Anna is MIA. Nobody knows where this guy went. They spend all day looking for him. They eventually find him the next morning, hiding in some tall grass in civilian clothing that he had robbed from a nearby house.
Got your ass.
The men take him prisoner. They bring him to Sam Houston. All the men want to kill him. They want to kill him right now. He killed a bunch of dudes at the Alamo, killed a bunch of guys at Goliad. They want to kill him. Sam Houston, on the other hand, thinking about the big picture, keeping a cool head, is like, no, we're not going to kill him. And he tells his men he still might be of some use to us alive. If we kill him, he's just another dead Mexican, he says, gesturing to the field of dead soldiers behind him. Sam Houston then has his men take Santa Anna prisoner all the way to the new government of Texas, where they sit him down and basically force him to sign the Treaty of Velasco, which recognizes Texas as its own sovereign nation in exchange for Santa Anna's freedom. So Santa Anna gets released. Texas is now recognized as its own sovereign nation. Understandably so, a lot of Texans are still mad that they didn't kill Santa Anna because he killed so many Texans, but Sam Houston would later joke, by releasing Santa Anna back to Mexico, we're keeping Texas safe because Mexico's going to be in turmoil the entire time that idiot's in charge. Now, cutting back to Sam Houston, right after he sends Santa Anna off, he's done it. He did what he came to Texas to do. He's created a new sovereign nation. He knows that he's going to go off, sign that treaty, recognize Texas as a sovereign nation. He's done it. So he's just sitting up against a tree with a bullet wound in his foot. He's reading a book, chilling, resting, having a good time. And then a woman by the name of Peggy McCormick, the lady that owns the land that the Battle of San Jacinto was fought on, comes up to Sam Houston and just starts chewing his ass about all the dead Mexicans that are on her lawn. And Sam Houston is like, ma'am, a famous battle was just fought here. Like, we won. Texas is its own nation now. And she's like, I don't give a shit. Get all the dead bodies off my grass. And I just thought that part was funny. They never ended up doing it, as far as I know.
That is hilarious. That she's like, hey, you just littered a bunch of fucking Mexicans all over my yard. Why would you go and do that? Now we just have Democrat politicians who open the borders and let them into our nation. You let them all over the state of California, all over New York, and
dead bodies just sat there
everywhere.
and rotted away into nothing, which, not right, but that's what happened.
Mr.
So now
President.
Texas is its own republic. Most of the people in Texas and in the government just want to join the United States of America. So they go to the United States, they ask permission. The United States government basically says no, because at this point in time, we're kind of building up towards a civil war. There's an even number of slave states and non-slave states. And if Texas joins, it's going to sway that one way or the other and fuck up all of the American government. So they're just like, no, you can't join the United States of America. So they have to become their own country. And that means they're going to have a president. So they have a presidential election, and wouldn't you know it, Sam Houston wins in a fucking landslide.
Wow.
Coming. I did.
Yeah, Sam Houston is not only the first Green Beret, he's so good at it, he accidentally became the president of the new country that he created. From here, it's a giant shit show. The guy's trying to build a nation from absolutely nothing. He's got all kinds of issues to handle, but his big thing is he's just trying to make it so Texas can get annexed by the U.S. government. And the problem that he keeps running into is Texas currently has slaves, so if they join the U.S. government, they're going to be a slave state. That messes up all of Congress. So he's trying to, get rid of slavery. He's getting a ton of pushback. He can't really get anything done. And the Texas Constitution says you can't be president twice in a row. You can be president 50 times, just not twice in a row. So when his term comes to an end, they elect a new president. And this guy's name is Lamar. And President Lamar does not really want to join part of Texas. He wants Texas to be its own sovereign nation, and he's super, super pro-slavery, does all kinds of fucked up shit. Doesn't like Native Americans,
he is.
Doesn't like black people. He actually has a bill going through Congress that any free black people in Texas, you've got 2 years to get out, and if you don't get out, you'll be taken in as a slave. So he basically spends the entire...
Now imagine that if a policy like that were tried to be introduced today. Like, oh, you're a Mexican in the United States. Now, if you don't go back home, or let's not even say Mexican. Let's go. You're an illegal immigrant in the United States. If you don't get out now, you'll have a warrant to be forcefully removed as of 2 years from today. Like, you have 2 years to get the fuck out, or you're going to be stuck on a raisin plantation in California picking grapes for pennies.
Term undoing everything Sam Houston did. While this is going on, Sam Houston is a civilian. During this point in time, he meets his true love, Margaret. They wind up getting married. They ultimately end up having 7 kids together.
Woo! Big old family.
President Lamar's term comes to an end, meaning Sam Houston is eligible to run again, so he does. He wins in a landslide. First thing he does when he gets into office, he starts making treaties with all the Native Americans, trying to respect old treaties that Lamar had broken, and that bill that Lamar was putting through that basically said all the free black people in Texas were going to be forced into slavery if they didn't get out. He basically said, hey, look, if this bill goes through, I'm going to pardon every free black person in the state of Texas. Don't even fucking bother. So that bill was dead on arrival. From here, his whole goal is to get Texas as part of the United States of America, so he concocts another plan. He's going to pit the U.S. and Great Britain against themselves. So what he does is he goes to Great Britain and he starts talking to them like, hey, we're looking at working out a trade deal with you guys. We could maybe, be a province of Great Britain, blah, 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 blah. America hears about this. The American government starts freaking out because if Texas joins Great Britain, they're going to be completely surrounded. They've got Canada up north. They're going to have Texas on the south. Britain still owns the ocean at this point in time. Like, it's not a big deal. So they have
the country that's the global, quote unquote, global superpower, and the one that has the strongest navy. I would say, yeah, that's the country that owns the water.
To go to Texas, and they're like, no, don't join Great Britain. And he's like, well, if you don't want me to join Great Britain, you better fucking let me join you then, huh?
Backed him into a fucking corner.
You son of a gun.
He's so convincing in his lie that his homie, Andrew Jackson, who's now the retired president, writes him a letter and is like pissed off at him. Like, how could you abandon your home nation? How could you do this to us?
He convinced him so heavily.
Great Britain. And Sam Houston writes him back and is like, dude, I'm just convincing the American government to let me in. I'm never
he sends back, JK, bro.
Never gonna join those fucking tea drinking assholes. At which point Sam Jackson is like,
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber,
he said Sam Jackson again. He meant Andrew.
you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
I knew it. I knew I would say Sam Jackson instead of Andrew
Hey,
Jackson.
he caught it.
Say what again? Now I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker.
Sure enough, his plan works. The United States government says Texas can join the Union, not as a territory, but as a full-fledged state. Sam Houston doesn't have the authority to just accept that offer up front. They have to put it through an election process. They asked the people of Texas. They voted in a landslide, and Texas becomes a state in the United States of America on December 29th, 1845. Sam Houston has been successful in his endeavor, meaning that he has just worked himself out of a job because the president of the Republic of Texas no longer exists. So he decides that he's going to run for Senate as Texas's first senator, and he wins, and he ships off to Washington, D.C. to represent the people of Texas. Once he gets to Washington, D.C., it's a giant shit show. The Civil War is a-brewing. There's all kinds of talks about secession, and he remembers back to his conversation with Marquis de Lafayette. He cannot let this union fail. He can't let America go to war with itself and let the kings and the monarchs of Europe win. He has to prove that common people can, in fact, lead themselves. He can't let them fight each other. And that becomes...
And I bet you the whole time the American Civil War was raging, you had some of those monarchs and leaders in Europe that were just over there. Yeah, they're fighting with each other. They're going to kill each other. And then we can go back and rule them. And then all of a sudden the war ended and they're like, wait, what? They're getting along again. Shit.
The only thing he cares about is keeping the Union together, and everybody fucking hates him for it because he's in Washington, D.C. as a 6'2" giant national hero, and he is just chewing out extremists on both sides of the aisle. He's chewing out the hardcore slave owners, and he's chewing out the hardcore abolitionists. He's looking over at the slave owners like, slavery's wrong, you know it's wrong, we do need to get rid of it. Then he's looking at the abolitionists like, shut the fuck up, you're just acting like you're better than the slave owners when you're not. The only reason that you don't want to own slaves is because you're importing a bunch of impoverished Irish people and paying them slave wages. You're not any better than a slave owner just because you're renting slaves instead of owning them. Now,
that one hits hard today. Whoopsie. Democrat Party, speak up.
whether he's right or wrong, that's his opinion, and he's not afraid to tell it to absolutely anybody, and he pisses off everybody in doing so. Because of this, he's basically forced out of U.S. Senate, so he goes back home to Texas, runs for governor, wins the governorship, and becomes the governor of Texas. From here, he's still doing everything he can to keep the Union together to prevent the Civil War. This is over the course of multiple interviews, but the man can literally see the future because he predicts the entire Civil War down to excruciating detail 10 years before it even happens. Over the course of multiple interviews and speeches, he literally says, in 1860, the abolitionists will elect a president, which they did, Abraham Lincoln. The South will then secede, thinking that it'll be an easy fight before they eventually crumble to the industrial might of the North, and a long, bloody, drawn-out civil war will occur. That's exactly what fucking happened. The South will go down in ruin. Check.
That happened.
The North will think they've won a great victory, but will ultimately reap a harvest of assassination.
Oh boy.
Be quiet.
John, calm down.
Listen to the woman, John. Calm down. Just calm down. Calm down. Just calm down.
The dude literally even predicted the assassination of Abraham Lincoln 10 years ahead of time. Sure enough, Abraham Lincoln winds up becoming the president in 1861. The South secedes, and Houston refuses to bend the knee to the Confederacy, so the Texas state government boots him from the office of governor. And he's a 67-year-old man at this point in time. There's absolutely nothing he can do. They put a new governor in, Texas joins the Confederacy, and the Civil War takes off, and everything that he predicted would happen years prior happened almost to a T. The South has initial success right out of the gate. Eventually, the industrial might of the North kicks in. They crush the South. The South is in shambles. The North thinks they've won, and then Abraham Lincoln would get assassinated, just like he said.
That is why, if you ever attack America, you make that attack a good one. Because if America gets the chance to stand back up, you're fucked. Ask Japan.
Unfortunately, Sam Houston would not live long enough to see that come to fruition, as soon as he was booted from the governor's mansion, his health rapidly declined before he ultimately passed away
or Iran.
63 at the age of 70 at the height of the Civil War. And that is the story of Sam Houston, the man that ran away from home at 13 years old to be raised by the Cherokee, only to become a war hero, a congressman, the governor of Tennessee, the governor of Texas, making him the only man to be governor of 2 separate states, the first president of the Republic of Texas, the last president of the Republic of Texas, a senator, and in my opinion, America's first Green Beret. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch. over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. I feel like they should have told me at least some of this when I was at Fort Sam Houston going to school to be a medic.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous that they didn't teach him that. You figure it's the fort named after the dude. They would share, as much of his life story as possible, or have a spot where it's like written down, listed. Like at this point, they should just play this video as you are there. And well, I just say it unliked at some point. Whatever. Anyways, that was a nice long video. I will still be back later today. If you weren't here yesterday, I spoiled it, but this is later today because somehow on my main channel, watching normal, I missed this one. So we get to enjoy this one together later today. See you at 6:05.